I am making Hungarian goulash. I'm not using beef, I'm using country pork.
Oh.
I make my goulash in a Dutch oven. It's the heavier ones. I think it's iron, cast iron, and I find it has a better cooking ability. So I put a teaspoon and a half of Himalayan salt, and I put about a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, and now I am going to put paprika. My paprika comes from Hungary, so I don't know how the Canadian paprikas taste. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, should be enough. Okay, this is for flavoring of the sauce. Now my name is Emily Biker, by the way. So now that I have gotten it down to pretty well a little bit of the oil, I take 1 smacking big onion. In other words, 1 sweet onion. They're big, you could see in the room over there. 1 big onion, and I dice it real nicely, okay? Then I take 1 big clove of garlic and a half. Garlic and a half. And I put the fire up underneath here because I have to fry the garlic and the onions in the mixture of that came out of the country pork. This is going to take a little bit of time because there's a lot of meat in here. I've got about 8 1.5-inch slices on a plastic sheet, and then I cut that in half, and then I don't make the meats very big chunks, only edible, okay? Then there's still a little bit of oil down there that came from the pork, so it's in that the garlic and the onions cook. And right now they are still uncooked, so I take all I can and I put it down from the side of the pot. There. And I let it cook in the starts with being in the, when it comes to me, I'll tell you. I have fried 3 strips of bacon, but I cut it up in bite-sized pieces, and I make sure I fry all the grease out of it. Brine, that's what it's called, brine. So, I take the fried bacon, all the good stuff that was in it, and I mix that inside. Now it is pork, fried bacon, onion, and garlic. And you fry it for another 2 minutes. The brine is now gone. So now when the brine is gone, I take my 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 3 teaspoons of paprika, and I put it on top. There. And I give it a stir. Ooh. Usually the Hungarians, they put the fire down when they put when they put the paprika in. But because I have a cast iron Dutch oven, I don't have to, because I keep it on medium heat. And you see the smoke coming, but that is the brine evaporating. There. Now you take 2 large beefsteak tomatoes and you put it in after you let the flavor go into the food. And you stir it. Oh, it smells luscious. So, because this is pork, and they haven't made a pork broth, so what I do, I take a vegetable broth and I put it in. You take a vegetable broth, one of these Aurora ones, doesn't really matter, they're all the same. And then you stir it, and it becomes a, how do you call it? A paprikash sauce, okay? And what I do is, because I put vegetable broth in a pork mixture, you let it cook for about 5 minutes. If you do it right, then what happens is the sauce thickens on its own. You don't put anything else into it, because whatever you do put into it goes against it. So with this, you could make a batch of gnocchi, and I will show you how to make that on top of this if you want. And the flour in the gnocchi will deal with the rest of the sauce. Okay? What's good about these cast iron pots, it doesn't stick on the bottom. And now you have a paprika sauce. And what happens is, when you leave this overnight, the sauce goes into the meat. I take a cooking pot and I fill it about halfway with water. Put it on the stove and put it on high. Put the lid on. And when it starts boiling, then I put the salt in. When the lid starts getting all watery like this, you know it's boiling good. So you take any old crappy salt, because I use Port Colborne's water, and you put a little bit of sprinkle, that's about 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt, inside the water, and you stir it a little bit. And then while all this is going on, you put it down to medium. You take your 2 cup measuring cup, and you take your flour, and you put 1 full cup of flour. I use unbleached flour. So I put about 4 tablespoons. Maybe that was a little less. I don't fill up my flour until it's all gone. Because right now, so I take the flour, and it's about a cup. Then
Better introduce Elko as he goes by.
Yeah, I take
Say hello, Elko.
my Himalayan salt, and I put half a teaspoon into the measuring cup. Then I take an egg. An egg. Put it in here. And I break the egg. Then I take about a half a tablespoon of butter. I put it in. That's about a half a tablespoon of butter. Then I take it off my knife. Oops. Okay. Now I take a knife. The best thing to stir it. And when you're doing this from a, how do you call it, a filtering system that I have, I take the water and I put about a quarter cup of water in here, and then this is why a knife is very good, and you keep on stirring until all the flour is mixed. But you see, it's still too hard, so you take a little more water. Always add water until you get the right consistency. It's still a little hard. You could see right away. So you put a little bit more, and then it's already starting to get itself together. So it becomes not a hard mix. This is a very soft mix. See? Now, you take this, you put it here, take the lid off. Then you make your gnocchi maker. I bought it in Hungary. And you put it where it belongs. And then because it's in this consistency, you take it all off, nice and neat. You could use a rubber scraper if you want, if you have one. I have one, but I'm too lazy to get it. And you will get about 1 load in your gnocchi maker. There you go. So while you're putting this in, a few dropped on the bottom. Then what you do is you move this like this. And you're going to see a whole bunch coming down. Then you move it. A little more. Oops. You move it. A little more. And you pretty well got all of it through. Just maybe a teaspoon left. Then you take this, take your knife, tip it over, take it off the bottom. This is what you get. This is what gnocchi looks like. See, by this time, the little gnocchis I put in here have gotten double the size. Okay? So you have to cook it for 5 minutes. There's no ifs or buts about this. And it's not 5 minutes yet. So I have another 2 minutes left. I have a clock on my stove, so I look on that. Some people, they don't shoot out the water of the nokenli because it's starchy. So what they do is they add carrots, parsnips, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all the vegetables you could eat. You put that into the soup, okay? And you cook it until it's done. The carrots are very hard. So you put that in first with the parsnips, and then everything else because it cooks, the other vegetables cook faster. And then once that is done, then you put your little bit of paprika, a little bit of black pepper, and you put about a tablespoon of chicken base. Stir it, and then you could have a nice vegetable soup, and it's already in the starch. So it's not a watery thing, and you don't have to put any soup base on. So you see, it has double the size now. It doesn't go down on the bottom. You're wasting a lot. It doesn't go down on the bottom. I have another minute to cook. See, it's double the size of what it was. I turn off the stove, and then I take the nokenli, I put it into the sink, and I leave the hot water tap go. So I'm leaving the hot, and then I put a sprinkler. And I take the sprinkler and I go on to the opposite side of the pot, because what I need to do now is I need to turn this pot around so that all the nokenli is down on the bottom. And then I take this, and this is all starch that is coming off. Right now I am washing the nokenli. Then I have a small sifter, 5-inch. Make sure you check the pot so that you don't burn your hand, because it's very easy to burn your hand. So I empty out as much of the water as I can. I put it all back. Because out of 1 cup of flour, you get servings for 2 people. And there's only 2 people. So now there's no water in here. I do not put oil in it. See, I don't put any oil in it. So what I do is I take a ladle. Whew, that's hot. I take a ladle and I take just, come here. Since I left this here, see how thick the sauce became? And then I take this and I sprinkle it over the top. And I stir it. This way, my nokenli doesn't stick together. So I have this, and I put it into a container. I don't use plastic, I only use glass. That's not too bad. And I put it into the container. This way it doesn't stick together. And it's done. So now you have that's hot. A meal for a queen. There. That's it. Anyone want any more Hungarian cooking instructions? Give me a call and I will let you know.
Good afternoon, dear friends. We are Bartha family from Hungary. My wife makes coconut cubes. It is not a typical Hungarian cake, but it tastes very well. First, the ingredients for the cake. 1 egg, margarine, flour, milk, sugar, and baking pan lined with baking paper. First thing is switch on the oven up to 180 degrees Celsius. 10 gram. First, you should warm the margarine in the milk. Margarine is melted.
Sugar.
Sugar. Beat the egg. Honey. 3 tablespoons honey. Ez csak 2 volt.
Tessék?
Csak 2 volt.
Csak 2 kábel.
Oh, sorry. 2 tablespoons honey is enough. Mix first.
3 öbölben.
And then need the 3rd tablespoon honey.
Baking powder.
Baking powder. This is 1.2 gram. Pour into the flour. Mix well. Pour the milk and the margarine. Mix well. Two little remark to the butter. If you want the cake not too sweet, use less sugar. My wife uses 15 deca sugar. And the baking pan shouldn't be big. Our baking pan is 30 centimeter and 20 centimeter width. The ingredients for the dressing. 17 tablespoon milk, 4 tablespoon sugar, 30 deca margarine, 3 decagram unsweetened cacao powder, room aroma, and a bar of dark chocolate. For the coating, 200 gram shredded coconut. Mix the sugar and the coconut. It's a vanilla aroma. Use only a few. Mix it well again. The butter is cut into slices. It's cube-shaped slices. Margarine, the dark chocolate, cacao powder, room aroma, and baking room into a saucepan is needed.
Most nem kell venni, várnunk kellene.
Warm it to boil while stirring constantly. Pour the milk into the saucepan.
Nem kell így.
The sauce is almost ready. It is homogeneous. Stick the cubes with the fork and dip into the sauce, and then roll it in the shredded cocoa powder. Cake is ready. I'd like to apologize if I translated anything wrong, but I am a medical doctor, not a cooker. So the language in the kitchen is far from me. We would like to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy 2021 and enjoy your meal.